7 days before actual lockdown happened, I was in Manchester Arena with 18,000 other people. We'd been to a packed restaurant for tea, you know, and nothing. I went to bed about 8 o'clock feeling like a cold, like a flu. I had aches and pains, but nothing, no cough, no fever, no loss of taste. So even then, really, I just put it down to maybe a seasonable cold. I have very mild asthma, so I would never have put myself either in the vulnerable category. I know asthma is one of those respiratory issues, but it was under control. I don't really have any issues with it. I woke up, like I say, Saturday, Sunday, feeling quite poorly, but just thinking it was an asthma flare-up. But then I sort of went downhill in the way that I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to move, everything was a struggle. But the only symptom I had was a cough. I didn't have any fever, I didn't really have any, I didn't have any loss of taste or smell. So I was really in denial that it could be COVID, even though now I'd got a cough. My husband, they wanted him to have a test because he had some aches and pains. He had a test on Sunday and his came back positive. So on the Monday, he was urging me to ring the doctor. Tuesday morning, he made me ring the doctor, and that's when they told me to go to hospital. I went straight to A&E, and then I've spent 9 days in hospital. I had the CPAP mask, which is a mask that blows oxygen in at quite a rate. It's quite a tight-fitting, uncomfortable mask, but it did the trick. I was on that for like 2 days, and then I was on oxygen up until I came home the day before. Just trying to take smaller breaths was more difficult, and it was just that shallow breathing. My stance was, well, I'm not in the vulnerable category, so I'm going to go and enjoy myself, because, you know, if you are in the vulnerable category, then it's down to you to preserve yourself, really. And that's how I felt right up until sort of catching it, really. It's got to be made aware that everybody is vulnerable to this disease, not just the elderly or people with, you know, respiratory. It can get anybody, and we need to follow the rules. You know, wash our hands, wear our masks, socially distance. You know, and that, I think that is the only way we are going to get rid of it. I think there's still a lot of people that aren't doing it. And I think everybody needs to be doing it. I was always saying that everybody should just get on with life, and the people who think they're vulnerable and are in those government categories, they're the ones that need to be careful, you know, and I would never have put myself in that category. It is very scary how easily it can affect somebody, you know, and I think that's what really needs to be highlighted to everybody, that, you know, okay, they say, you know, there's a vulnerable group of people who are more susceptible to it, but I think everybody's got to realise that they could catch it easily. It just floored me. It was the lack of energy, and then with the cough that I got, that was about the Thursday or the Friday, but I still wasn't convinced it was COVID. And really now, me and my husband say we should have realised it was going to be COVID and got tested. Even if it might have come back negative, we should have gone for a test. And I think that is the key, to make sure that people get tested, and get tested quickly as well. I had an x-ray, and the doctor basically said to me, looking at your lungs, it's COVID, we're going to treat you as COVID, even though we haven't got the result back. This is again where I sort of failed myself, because yes, I was poorly. I didn't realise I was that poorly. I thought I would just go have a couple of nebulizers, a bit of oxygen, and be home. I literally didn't take anything to the hospital with me. They were very concerned about the lack of oxygen in my blood. I'd had a couple of nebulizers, and I was on this different kind of face mask. And that's when they wanted to put me on this CPAC machine. They did also indicate that I could end up in ICU. I was on this machine for about 48 hours on and off. I really don't know whether I was scared, of actually going to the hospital because it would be COVID, and maybe it scared me and I didn't want to know. Or I just really don't know why I didn't act maybe a day or two sooner. I think it was just being scared. And I think even when I got to the hospital, I still thought, a bit of nebulizer, a bit of oxygen and I'll be home. So to actually have a lady in like full hazmat from the ICU come and take my blood gases, really was quite scary to think, this is actually worse than I thought. It didn't worry me as much as it probably should have, really. Again, I'm going back to that sort of denial. I think I was denying myself that I had COVID and I had the symptoms, and telling myself it was my asthma, and because I'd already had a set of steroids and antibiotics, I was going to be all right like I would be normally. As they were doing more tests, it was getting a little bit scarier because they were finding that I was even lower on oxygen than they thought, and that I needed this CPAC mask. Really, it's just quite a blur of, all the tests, the mask being moved. They still don't know a lot about how to treat this disease, this virus. So when somebody comes in, there's like a 4, 5, 6 step plan, which they're always adding to when they realise that something actually works for COVID patients. You hear about going to A&E and people waiting for hours and hours, and the fact that literally I'd been signed in and 2 minutes later I'd had an oxygen mask on sort of told me that it was more serious than I was telling myself. The first 2 days really I think were critical, and I think the doctors did everything above and beyond to make sure that I had the best care. I mean, I was still in hospital for 9 days, and I was on oxygen until the day before I left. And that's another thing really, possibly why I was in denial that I had it, because I didn't want to go and put strain on the NHS when, I thought I was okay. I'm out of breath a lot, I'm coughing a lot, just doing little tasks, making a piece of toast for my lunch, walking up the stairs. It takes so much energy, you just feel like, and the lack of concentration, that's an issue for me at the moment. What people have got to realise is that it's here to stay, and that you've got to take the precautions, follow the rules. If we want to get back to normal, we need to follow the rules. Use Zoom, use your telephone, just follow the rules, do as we need to be doing to get over this, because if we're not, it's going to be here for a lot longer, and it's going to last, and be worse.